Hi. So not everybody knows me, but my name's Emily. I have a tic disorder. So basically what that means is I have uncontrollable movements and sounds that I make. I've had it since December, and I'm just going to tell you a bit about it. So basically, like I said, the brief explanation is movements and vocal sounds that I cannot control. So basically, it's called motor tics and vocal tics. Fairly simple. I have echolalia, which is basically you repeat what you hear. So especially for like sounds, I will repeat either a word I've heard. It can be like the second after I hear it, a week after I hear it, multiple days, even a month, and I will just start saying it. Chicken. That is one of my most recent ones. I'm kind of stressed while doing the videos, so that makes them a little more common. So basically, I get tics, especially with any strong emotion. So anger, when I'm really happy, stress, obviously, being anxious, being worried, stuff like that. So that basically increases them. I have days where I'll have maybe one tic, and then I have days where I am ticking the entire day, and I will be ticking every couple seconds. So it varies. So yeah, that's the general of it. So basically the assumption is, we're not quite sure, but the assumption is I got the tic disorder from anxiety, because I have dealt with anxiety for a very long time, battled anxiety disorders for multiple years, and I basically got a depressive episode around December at the same time I got the tic disorder, so we're thinking that that kind of triggered it. Say hi to Bob! So yeah, that's what we're assuming, but we're not quite sure. I'm on medication that helps a bit. I have basically an emergency medication that I can take, and it helps kind of like medication you would take for like a panic attack. So basically within like 5-10 minutes it'll make it go down, and instead of the tic attack lasting half an hour, it'll last 15 minutes or something like that. One of the most common questions I get asked is, does it hurt? No, technically, unless obviously it's a hitting tic like that. Or when I have a whole bunch of neck tics, my neck will get very, very sore. So it's basically like overusing a muscle. So that's the basic of it. I mean, sometimes when I have like lots and lots of vocal tics, it will make my throat hurt. It's fairly simple. It's like overusing your voice, overusing muscles. It'll just start to hurt after a while. Say hi to Bob! I know what I'm doing, basically, while I have tics, so it's not like you lose function in your brain. It's not like you don't know technically what you're doing, so yeah. you'll know that, oh, I just clapped my hands, for example. I knew I did that, instead of forgetting everything that happened while you're doing it. Let's see. So a tic attack is basically like a whole bunch of tics after each other. So like I'll get a tic like every second, or something like that for a longer period of time. Like I said, you'll get a tic like every couple seconds. Those can last pretty long sometimes, and they vary in severity. So sometimes I'll have a tic attack while I'm just whistling like every couple seconds. I've had tic attacks where I will be either hitting myself or hitting my head against the couch. Those ones obviously become problematic. The worst one, I think, it was when I first got the tic disorder, and I basically didn't have any emergency medication, so I was taken to the hospital because I was ticking the entire day, and it basically got worse and worse, and I ended up not being able to move, like on purpose. But now I have emergency medication that I can take, which helps, and yeah, so that's the basics of like a tic attack. I also get tic bursts, which is, or at least that's what I call them. I don't know the actual name for it, but basically a tic burst is when I'm like, for example, holding in tics or suppressing them, then I can either get like a whole bunch of tics in like a couple of seconds and then it's gone. So like 10 seconds I'll be like crazy ticking, and then it'll go away. That's not a tic attack, it's just, I call it a tic burst. I'm not quite sure what the name is. So that's basically the less problematic thing that can happen while suppressing tics, but suppressing tics is basically making sure that they don't come up. It hurts to suppress them, and for me especially, it gives me a major headache. And it's just very, very uncomfortable because it's like holding in a sneeze. That's another way that you can explain tics, is it's like having a sneeze. So like you can feel it just before it happens, and if you try to suppress it or not sneeze, your sneeze just like builds and builds and builds until eventually you sneeze, and it's bigger than if you would have just sneezed when you had the urge to sneeze. And so it's the same thing with tics. It's a lot easier for me to just let myself tic than to suppress them, because it hurts, and it basically will either cause a tic attack or will just really, really hurt, give me a major headache, and it's just very problematic. So there's also things called mental tics, and that's something that not many people know, but mental tics is basically you're ticking in your head. So you hear like this word over and over again, or you feel like you're doing the movement or going to do the movement, but it doesn't happen. Those are very annoying. I haven't had them very often, but they are very, very annoying because it's like, just tick, it'll be easier. And then you have something called a sensory tic, and a sensory tic is basically you have the urge to tick, but you don't tick. So it's like when you're suppressing a tic and it just kind of builds and builds, but you can't get it out. And those are terrible. Those are almost worse than a tic attack because it physically hurts. And for me especially, it makes me cry a lot, and it's very, very difficult. So that's probably the worst part. But basically, like, for example, if you see somebody ticking, don't judge them for it, because they're not doing it on purpose, and just make them feel normal, because especially when I I was in the hospital for 2 months because of the depression and tic disorder and anxiety. And basically coming out of the hospital was the worst part because I was only used to being in a certain setting with the tics. So going out of the house and being in public or being around my friends, even though I knew my friends loved me, I was very, very worried about what they would think of me because I was now ticking and I couldn't control it. And yet I was lucky. I have very good friends who love me anyways, but not everybody is as lucky, and it will change people's perspectives on some people, and so that can be very complicated. So I was very, very worried about that when I started to integrate back into people and stuff like that. So yeah. So another part about, like, for example, Tourette's is like one of the most common. It actually isn't the most common tic disorder. However, it is the most widely known. So basically, it depends on severity as well, but you have to have, basically you get Tourette's when you're a kid. So you'll have to get it before a certain age, and basically you will have a Tourette gene, but you don't have to have the gene to have a tic disorder. Anybody, quite literally anybody, can get a tic disorder. So also another thing that people assume is that you have like swearing tics or inappropriate gestures or whatever else. That's called coprolalia and copropraxia, and that's basically, it's very uncommon actually. It's just the most common because people think, oh no, this is a major thing. But it honestly isn't the most common. I think it was like 10% of people with tic disorders have coprolalia. Copropraxia is even less. So that is a stereotype for the most part. Yeah, so basically I'm gonna add a few videos of like tic attacks just so you know what it could look like. I know I've said a lot of the basics and a lot of the general terms and whatever else. It can be fun at times. It's still annoying, but you kind of have to have a sense of humor about it because you're kind of stuck with it, and if you don't, it becomes very miserable. So yes, things can be funny, and it's okay to laugh, but be respectful about it. Don't like laugh at the person. It's more like laugh with them. So, like on my really bad days, if somebody laughs, it messes me up and it makes it even worse and it makes me feel terrible. But if I'm like, okay, and I'm like, okay, that was kind of funny, then it's fine. So I'll add a few videos of that as well because it can be really funny sometimes. I've done a lot of different things. And I have a lot of very random tics as well. So I will dance around the room, or I will jump, or I will something. Bang. Chicken. Chicken. Okay. Chicken. Toothpaste explosion. I also get something called, or I call it, a stuck tic. So basically I'll have the same tic every single second for a certain amount of time, and I'll basically be stuck in that position. So I'll either be shaking or something, and it helps when like somebody like either grabs me or like something, just so I know that somebody's there. A lot of my tics, when I have a tic, I will close my eyes or I will blink, and so I don't always see the damage of a tic until I open my eyes again, which is very interesting. I don't know. For the most part, I think that was the basics. It varies for different people. You can't have the same assumption. It just doesn't work that way. It's like anything else. You have different sides of things. Everybody has a different experience. It doesn't matter at all what people assume, because it's just not. It doesn't work that way. For me, like, my tics will change anywhere from every 4 days to like every week. So basically I'll have like a main tic that I will do for a certain amount of time, and then I will recycle. And I will basically either come up with a brand new one or recycle old ones that I've had. So I had like the neck tics, as you've seen in this video. I didn't have those for like a month, and now they're back. So it varies. Things change, and it constantly fluctuates and changes. So you can't like assume and like call people out and say, oh, stop faking having a tic disorder or Tourette's, because you can't assume that. It doesn't work that way. Just because you haven't seen it before doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So try to have an open mind, be nice, and that's for anybody. It doesn't matter if you can see it or if you can't. Try to have an open mind and be kind, because you have no idea what people are actually going through. So try to be nice, have an open mind. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I don't mind at all. I actually enjoy answering questions because it's better than having people assume. So yeah, for the most part, that's the basics. Again, if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope you guys are having a great day. Happy Tourette's Awareness Month.